We just bought a brand new 2025 Toyota Tacoma. So what trim did we get? What are the features and what can it do? Well, we're going to find out right now on Driving Sports TV.
This episode is brought to you by OnX Offroad. Save 20% off a new membership using the code DSTV.
Toyota is the biggest car maker in the world. And though they do maintain a sizable press fleet here in the Pacific Northwest, we are limited with the trims that are available and what we can do with them. Which is why when we bought a 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser First Edition, one of the first things I did was put on a new set of tires and I drove it up a mountain. And that brings me to the newest addition in our long-term testing fleet. This is a 2025 Toyota Tacoma TRD Off-Road Premium with the iForce Max powertrain. So why this one? Well, the Tacoma is the best-selling mid-size truck in America. Like, it's not even close. I've already owned a number of Ford pickups over the last few years, and it was time to switch things up. Maybe next year I'll get a Chevy, we'll have to see. Under the hood of this TRD Off-Road is the 2.4-liter turbo 4-cylinder engine with a 48 horsepower electric motor integrated into the 8-speed transmission. The TRD Off-Road is also available with a 2.4-liter turbocharged engine without the hybrid setup. Personally, I want more power in my truck, so I went with this option. If you want to see a full review of the non-hybrid version of this truck, we actually did several reviews with it last year. This produces a peak output of 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. The four-wheel drive system is part-time only with an electronically controlled dual-range transfer case. EPA rates economy at 22 miles to the gallon in town and 24 on the highway. Price as you see it here with the premium package, all-weather mats, ARB rear tow hooks, and rigid fog lights, $57,959 US including destination. Yes, that is within $20 of what I paid for a Ranger Raptor just last year. So basically they're the same price. The suspension on this Tacoma is tuned for off-road use, with a fully independent setup in front, and the back gets coil springs with a live axle. The shocks on all four corners are 46mm Bilsteins with piggyback reservoirs. That is a massive upgrade for the TRD off-road trim over the previous generation. With those reservoirs, these shocks should be able to handle more abuse over longer periods of time without overheating. The wheels are 18-inch alloys wrapped in an OEM version of the Falken Wild Peak AT3W, called the AT3WA. These are a 265/70 R18 fitment. The TRD Off-Road does get underbody protection, but unlike the higher-end TRD Pro and Trail Hunter trims, we just get a composite plate down here. It's not even steel or aluminum. In the near future, we might add on some better underbody protection just to protect the truck, as well as add some rock sliders. If you, the viewer, have any recommendations on a specific brand, post a comment below. We'd love to hear them. Though you can get the TRD Off-Road with a 6-foot bed, this one has the 5-foot bed. Personally, I prefer to have a shorter wheelbase compared to the long bed option. Now back here we do get an option. These are ARB recovery hooks, which are planted right next to the hijack lift points. Yes, this truck comes standard with hijack lift points mounted to the frame. That's pretty awesome. This lift gate, it is powered. That's part of the premium package. The Tacoma does use a composite bed, so you don't have any metal that can get scratched up, but still, I like to add a bed mat, so I added this for $170. Now we do get tie downs. We also have a rail system that's included, LED lighting. We have a cubby here on upper trims like the Trail Hunter. This would be an air compressor. Over here is one of my favorite features of this truck. That's right, in bed, 2,400 watts of power. That is one reason to get the hybrid. Massive AC power output. Now you have both an AC socket here as well as in the cab. Oh, and neat trick with the tailgate. If my hands are full, I pull something out, I can just tap it with my knee and it goes up. Underneath here, we do get a spare tire, and it actually is a matching spare. That's nice. The rear window is power sliding. There's lighting back here too. Towing capacity is 6,000 pounds. Payload is limited to 1,705 pounds, which is the most you'll find among all of Toyota's off-road ready trims. Do note that on the door sticker, it does say that the maximum capacity is 1,200 pounds of cargo and people, but those stickers are always very conservative. In the second row, we do lose under-seat storage because of the hybrid batteries that are living under there. The seats do fold forward, however, for a little extra cubby space. Space is very limited for adults in the second row. It is, quite frankly, very disappointing, even for a midsize. Passengers do get 2,400 watts of AC power here, as well as a pair of USB-C sockets. I mean, I got to admit, this is pretty nice. Adding $8,540 to the base TRD off-road price, the premium package isn't cheap, but it does load on the content, especially in the main cabin. The seats are wrapped with synthetic leather with power controls, plus they're heated and cooled. The gauges are Toyota's new digital display. These are highly configurable with a number of different looks. The sound is upgraded to a JBL system with a removable wireless speaker, which is kind of cool. The infotainment system is a large 14-inch display that supports music, maps, and data. This large display is especially impressive when running maps. And that brings us to the sponsor of this video, OnX Offroad. You can save 20% off a brand new membership using the code DSTV, clicking this QR code, or clicking the link in the description below. OnX Offroad is the best tool for exploring off-road trails anywhere in the US. Don't just take my word for it, click the link below and check out all of the features they've been adding to OnX Offroad. Recently, they added snow imagery. They also have turn-by-turn navigation now for both regular roads as well as for off-road. And of course, if you go up to the elite level, you can also look at property data so you can make sure that you're staying on public lands and not trespassing onto private property. And I think this display really complements this interior. Like when the 14-inch first came out, I thought, my God, it's too big. But first off, of course, time moves on and you start to see the use of these things like maps, but also the way they've integrated it, it just makes a lot of sense. And they didn't give up physical controls for the aircon. I still get a nice dual zone controller here with an auto mode. I have a heated steering wheel, both heated and cooled seats because of the premium pack. And then of course, this is something I would have actually liked in my Land Cruiser. We have a better bin system going on here where I can charge my phone and still see it down there. Plus, of course, I have 52.5 total watts of output between these two USB-C sockets, and I have extra storage space pretty much all over. This is a very useful but also good-looking interior. And if you're looking at a new 4Runner, this is the same interior basically that you get in the 4Runner because, of course, yes, the 4Runner, the Land Cruiser, heck, the Tundra, and the Tacoma are all based on the same platform now. But because the Land Cruiser is a global product, it has a different interior. There are a couple things that did surprise me with this vehicle. First off, if you're looking at for example, a Trail Hunter, you cannot get that with a sunroof, but this one has it as part of the premium package. Also, auxiliary power switches. They're actually hot down here with little light illuminators, which is nice. I do not, of course, get the factory light bar up here, which is exclusive on Trail Hunter and TRD Pro trims. It's not even an option, but I feel like what I have here is everything that I really, really want. You know, the light bar is nice, but I think an aftermarket bar would probably make a lot more sense. Yeah, so I spent a lot less on this truck than I would have on one of those specialty trims, and that's not even keeping in mind the fact that many dealers are adding dealer markups on the Trail Hunter and TRD Pros, which isn't the case for the TRD Off-Road. This to me just seems to be a better value. Even if I still have to buy rock sliders and better underbody protection, I'm still thousands less than those more exclusive models. The 4-wheel drive system is part-time, so I do have to pick between 2-wheel drive, 4-high, or 4-low. There is no full-time option. In the rain, I do like full-time 4-wheel drive, and the Torsen-based full-time system is one of the things I do love about my Land Cruiser. We'll see if this part-time system is really an issue for long-term use here in the Pacific Northwest. That covers all of the main features. Now, one thing I do want to note, this truck did arrive with a massive air dam on the front. Personally, I just think it looks ridiculous, and I took it off immediately. If you do buy a TRD Offroad, just be aware that this is included with the TRD Offroad. It is there to improve fuel economy. Taking it off is actually very easy. I just removed a handful of 10mm screws and it popped right off. I put the screws back in to maintain the clip positions as well as hold in some of the extra body panels. So we're not going to get too crazy today because this still has less than 100 miles on the odometer and we need to properly break it in. But I am curious how well this suspension feels on the street. So we're going to start there and then we're going to bring it back here for some off-road testing. One thing I noticed immediately about this truck, it feels big. It feels bigger than my Ranger Raptor did, which I'm kind of surprised with, frankly. I think a lot of it has to do with how high it sits, and of course you have that big squared off hood in the front, which really kind of just gives you a very hefty kind of feel. On the inside cab, I feel like I have lots of room here, tons of bins, especially compared to my Land Cruiser. Visibility is pretty good. Actually, it's pretty good. Yeah, my only complaint is being able to see over the hood. But because I went with the premium package, that means that I have a full surround view camera system, which is very important if you're doing solo off-roading. Can you do it without that? Of course you can. But it's nice to have. You know, use that. Oh, that's fun. Use the tech to increase safety. That's always a good thing. So, driving this, I'm really surprised how much this feels like the TRD Pro and like the Trail Hunter. I mean, it feels like one of the more expensive trucks. And granted, it is. I mean, this is still close to $60,000. I mean, 57 and change, that's still a lot of money. Whoo! But that powertrain, the looks on the outside, the overall feel of this cabin, I mean, it feels solid. It feels good. I like this. I'm not going to do a 0 to 60 yet because, again, the motor is not broken in yet, nor is the engine. So I'm just going to kind of take it easy. And now the powertrain here is interesting because this is effectively the same powertrain that's in the 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser that I bought last year. But it feels very different here. It feels torquier. And I think that's just in the way that they've tuned the setup. And the tuning here is very different. Not only does it feel different, it also allows you to use regular gas in this one, whereas the Land Cruiser is tuned for premium because it's set up for a global market. And globally, premium is kind of what people use. But it is interesting that not only is this tuned for regular fuel, it doesn't lose any horsepower in that translation. So clearly they had some extra power on the table that they were able to implement here. Oh! And the powertrain that is in this is the same one that's in the 4Runner. So you could pretty much say that the current 4Runner is the wagon version of the Tacoma pickup. I mean, everything is pretty much copy-paste except for the back. And that's not a bad thing because this is a pretty cool setup. Now, I was asking my kid after driving him to school this morning, I was like, okay, what do you prefer? Did you prefer this truck or do you prefer the Ranger Raptor that I owned last year? And, my son, he didn't even hesitate. He's like, oh, the Ranger Raptor. And I get it. The Ranger Raptor it's a more aggressive, desert-running, fun truck. The fact that it's basically the same price as this exact truck is kind of hilarious. And it is, I mean, I do feel like there's some justification required here. First off, we test vehicles. I like to test as many vehicles as possible. But that said, this and the Ranger Raptor are two very different approaches to the midsize adventure truck segment. This one feels like it has, I just bought this thing yesterday. It feels like it has more of an edge in capability, whereas the Ranger Raptor definitely feels like it has more of an edge in high-speed fun. And I think that's okay. You know, it obviously, there's a truck for everybody out there right now. and just so long as you have the money to buy one, because whoo, the prices have gone up. But with the prices going up, the trucks are bigger, they have more performance than ever, and actually the economy is also improved, especially when you're looking at MPGs per horsepower. I mean, the numbers these days are ridiculous. And I think it's also really important for me to spend more time with a Tacoma, considering this is far and away the best-selling mid-sized truck in America. I mean, this one basically sells 2-to-1 over the next truck, which I think is the GM clones. So I think it's really important to spend time with this truck. Why is it so popular? How does it compare to the competition? And what is good about it and what is not so good about it? I mean, I'm sure I'm going to find some things I don't love about it eventually. Of course, right now I just bought it, so, all is new. Also, the TRD Offroad is lifted a little bit more over the standard Tacoma. I measured underneath the transmission in the front, which is kind of the lowest point outside of the rear differential, a little bit more than 10 inches of ground clearance, which is miles beyond what my Land Cruiser had, because that comes from the factory at just a little bit over 8 inches of ground clearance. So ground clearance isn't going to be an issue. But because this is a little bit taller, it is a little bit more difficult to get in and out of if you're not a tall person. And my wife does not love getting in and out of this truck. She is 5'4", and it's a little bit of a struggle. The hand grip up on the A-pillar on the passenger side is barely there. It's this little notch in the B-pillar, which isn't great. There is a handle down here that she can use, but again, it doesn't seem to be a real good setup. So I'm going to probably have to look at least sliders or something with a step, maybe. Considering it, I don't know what I'm going to go with. So this part of the highway right here, it's a little bumpy, but I'm finding that this suspension actually soaks it up pretty good. Not as good as the Land Cruiser. The Land Cruiser uses Toyota shocks. So it is kind of amazing. Like, not only... Okay, let's just talk about Toyota. I'm just finding this absolutely amazing with Toyota. So if you get a Trail Hunter, a TRD Pro, or a TRD Offroad, or a TRD Offroad with the 2.4 turbo, all of those have different all-terrain tires on them. And between all of those, you get 3 different suspension setups. I mean, Toyota definitely has gone to customizing all of these trucks for different feels. And we're going to have another video comparing this truck versus the Trail Hunter, which has the Old Man Emu 2.5-inch damper setup. And I think that's going to be interesting to see, like, how different are the dampers? Are they really that much better? I'm going to answer that in a different video. But for right now, I am enjoying this truck. I think it's a sporty feel. It's well cushioned, but it's not like super soft. Yeah, I would say like the Land Cruiser is definitely smoother on surfaces like this, and softer actually. I think that the Land Cruiser has a softer setup overall, but this one, it is good. Definitely feels a little sportier. And the motor, of course, also makes sportier noises. So obviously that's what they're going with here. Now that we have stripes on the road, I can test the adaptive cruise control system, which does come standard with this truck. I basically just hit a button, hit a target speed, and we're off to the races. I can hit another button here and it'll actually lane center for me. And then it'll basically keep me tracking between the lanes. This is a good system for, say, long road trips. It is not obviously a hands-off system, it is a hands-on system. It is designed basically to reduce fatigue, and it works really well. So nothing really common here. I've done this a bunch with different Toyotas. The current setup they use is quite good. Now this truck also comes with the full surround view camera system, and I get blind spot warnings, as well as I get collision mitigation and rear cross traffic alerts. So you could say this truck fully loaded. I also get automatic headlights. In addition to doing auto for on-off, depending on how dark it is, it'll also switch between high and low beams as necessary. Then of course, I also have the fog lights, which I can turn on down here. Now the fancier trucks and SUVs from Toyota offer the 2 color rigid headlights, the yellows, which are a little bit better for fog. But this one is just strictly daylight. It's kind of more of a driving, like a ditch light. The truck is very comfortable. It has all the features that I would ever want in a pickup and then some. And yeah, I think it also looks really great on the street. But now let's check out the TRD off-road aspect of this truck, as we're going to take it to our Peninsula Proving Grounds and put some of the off-road features to the test. Right, let's start some off-road testing, and we're going to go on the ridge through the moguls and up the rock garden. This should give us an opportunity to test out most of the key capabilities of it without stressing it too much, because of course, not broken in yet. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and switch into 4 low. Could I drive through this whole course in 4 high? Probably. Once I'm into 4 low, it automatically changes the camera system to be the trail cam. Now the trail cam is great because I have tracking lines in the front. I also can see individual wheels on the side. And if I want to, I can of course change to a few alternate views. So back and sides. So those are my rear wheels actually. But let's go with the front wheels and we'll look for clearances over here. And let's start this. So the climb up's pretty easy. It's a little uneven, but obviously not even a challenge for a truck like this. I just heard the parking sensors going off, so let's see if I can find where to disable those. I have no idea where to disable those. It's probably in the menu, so I'll come back to that later if it becomes annoying. Now we can look right here on the tracks. You can see going right in the middle of the ridge, and this is actually where cameras are really helpful because this ridge is not very wide. So we got to make sure we stay on the tracks. No problem. And we're going to go into the ditch. Just going to lift up those rear wheels. Now, what you're looking for here is articulation. You want to see what that stroke is in the back on all the opportunities here, so we can see just like how much does it compress in, how far does it go down. This does have a solid axle in the rear, which means that the whole back unit kind of moves together. That actually helps with ground clearance because while one is going down, it's kind of pushing the other side of the truck up. That's why solid axles are really good in conditions like this. And with the coil springs in the back, we should have some pretty good stroke going on back there. Yeah, like no rubbing at all. Nice. Okay, gonna continue on. Do the reverse sand slide. Gonna dip in on the little side tilt here. Yeah, no problem. Now, the gauges here that do show tilt and roll, they're kind of useless because the 0 to 30 with little pips in between, so this is what, 5 degrees or something like that? I don't know. It's impossible to tell. Go up. Nice. So this did come standard with a rear locker, but I'm going to use multi-terrain select instead, which is a wheel braking system. I'm going to keep it in auto because I don't think we really need that locker yet. We'll just kind of keep it in our pocket for when it's needed. Deep in the hole there. Now let's look for those wheel brakes kicking in. Boom, moving us forward. Now the wheel braking system here is critically important for the Tacoma because there is no front locker even available. And without a front locker, you need something to kind of emulate a locker, and the Tacoma relies on software, their MTS system, the multi-terrain select. It's a great system. It's been around for years. It's basically a newer version of the older A-Track system. Let's continue on. Oop, boop, boop, boop. And now into the moguls. Now we're going downhill on the moguls, so this is more articulation than it is power. Again, just not trying to stress the system too much here yet. Look for any tilting with the vehicle, any opportunities for it to lift wheels. I want to see those wheels reach all the way down. Yeah, it feels like it is. Nice. Now the tires here are, of course, Falken Wild Peak AT3Ws, which is the older version of what is now the AT4W. The AT3Ws were better in snow. The AT4W is a better all-arounder. But here's the thing. These are the OEM version of the Wild Peak. So they don't have as much tread as if you went out and just bought Falken Wild Peaks. So because of that, there is some limitation in the capability of these tires compared to the real thing. We're going to dip a wheel in. Oh yeah. Okay, and then we're going to do a climb through the rock garden here. Now we don't have any like significant underbody protection on this thing. It basically just has that composite skid plate up in the front, but I think we'll be okay on clearances here. I'll definitely be listening for dinging though. So I think this is a good opportunity to test out the crawl control system. So I'm in low already. I'm just going to click crawl. And this gives me 5 different speeds. I'm going to go ahead and start at the slowest. And it also stacks commands. So I was already in MTS Auto, and it just carries that over. Although actually I'm going to switch from auto to rock, I think, because I don't want any wheel spin here. So let's go back to MTS, go up to rock. Now I'm going to hit crawl and lowest speed. There we go. So this is rock mode crawl control. Again, using the cameras here to place my wheels, really handy. We're just going to slowly ease on. My foot is not on the gas pedal right now. The truck is basically driving itself. It's super muddy in here right now. And now this climb is tricky because it's basically loose boulders and gravel. So we have to be careful not to kick the rocks up. And then we also have to climb over these telephone poles that I buried as well. So let's see what these wheels do. As we climb up, listen for any thunking. We do have, like, I measured 10 inches of ground clearance under that front transfer case, so I think we're okay. Up we go. Again, no gas pedal, truck is driving itself, essentially. Rubbing back there? No. Excellent. Like, no problem at all. Love it. Wait, you're just gonna hang out there? There we go. Fantastic job. Now let's wrap this up. I am pretty impressed with this truck overall. If you're a regular viewer of the show, you're probably wondering at this point, did he keep the Land Cruiser or did he trade it in on the Tacoma? Let's answer that. Oh, hello. So yeah, I kept the Land Cruiser too. I am rather surprised with how different these two vehicles feel. Yes, they have the same powertrain. They even have the same gear ratios for the most part. I think one gear is slightly different, but they drive like they're completely unrelated, which is interesting. We'll explore more of that in the future. Also, this has so much more ground clearance than that does. This is a truck, that's an SUV. Essentially, yeah, I couldn't make up my mind, so I kept both for now. We'll see how long it sticks around, but for right now, I'm still loving that Land Cruiser, and I'm looking forward to spending more quality time with the Tacoma. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share videos. We make them for you. I hope you enjoy them, and I hope you enjoyed this first look at our all-new 2025 Toyota Tacoma TRD Off-Road.